This is The Art of Startup War, and I am your sensei, Brian McMahon. Now, in Season 1 and 2, I got inside the minds of startup investors. In Season 3, I brought in entrepreneurs to share their startup journey. Here, in Season 4, we combine both, so you can hear investors critique the investment value proposition of individual companies. You're going to hear how investors make decisions to invest in startups, what makes a great entrepreneur, and how billion-dollar companies are built. So tune in every Tuesday, 10 a.m. on all the major platforms. You can empower your tribe by sharing the podcast, and remember to subscribe, rate, review, and leave us a comment. Good morning, Brian. You are on The Art of Startup War, and today we are talking to another great founder who's come up with an incredible, innovative product. And normally, I am very happy with the sound of my own voice. I'm bringing in great founders so you can hear about these phenomenal innovations they're bringing. But that's because normally I don't have such a visual product to show you. So I would love if we had a video today, but I'm going to try and see if we can visually explain to you how incredible, unique, and innovative this product is without you seeing it. Alexander, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
So tell me a little bit about what inspired this product without telling us what the product is first. Like, just bring us through what you saw as a problem, because this is a really weird friggin' product. And it's weird because it's so insanely obvious that there's a part of me I cannot believe. I mean, I know the most brilliant innovations are the most simple innovations, right? But I cannot believe nobody's come up with this product before. So you saw something that everybody else saw, but it triggered the need to develop this brilliant product in you. And I want to understand what that journey was.
Yeah, so I went to Columbia University for mechanical engineering. I had a girlfriend who loved high heels. The problem though was every time she wore heels, I would have to carry on my back, or she would have to.
I've been there.
Yeah. Carry on my back, especially through the subways. And it was wintertime, so super cold on the ground. Taking off her shoes was really just awful. I felt like terrible. And walking with sandals or carrying sandals for women is like pretty tough, especially when you're going out in the city. So, and there wasn't like a practical solution. I was studying engineering at the time. I developed this product. I showed it to my professor, and he loved it. He said, you should get it patented. So we got this product patented, got granted last year. Obviously, as you mentioned, like it has been done before, a few times. Most of them have been iterations of like a telescoping heel to just simply removing the heel and putting on a new high heel. So the
idea that you came up with was, we are going to transform the experience of women who love high heels, but they hate the discomfort of high heels. They want to be able to swap out a high heel or the experience of a high heel with having a nice flat in an instant. And then if they want to go back to high heel again, they can jump back to high heel, as simple as that.
Yep.
Right, okay. And so talk to me again. So, because you're making it sound very easy, but it's not that easy what you've done.
No.
Yeah, so let's talk about, who tried it before and what they did and why they failed. And then how that helped you come up with the right solution for you.
Yeah, so we do have competitors. I would say the largest competitor would be like a Passion Footwear. They have a removable twist-off heel, so it kind of screws on and screws off. The main issue, I would say, and the reason why so many people have tried that and failed is when you have accessories, and I think we all have someone in our lives where if you have like little parts, you're ultimately gonna lose them. Like the iPhone dongle that converts the power to the headphones. I think I lost that in like 3 days.
Yeah, sure.
So I didn't want to have any extra parts to carry around, and it made it super convenient. As a guy, wanted to create like something practical, really, and also give it the fashion kind of look to it as well. That's also why I named the company after myself. Try to emulate some of the
and that's
the fashion.
Alexander Isinhue.
Yeah,
for all you folks out there who are wondering what that is.
Thanks. And I wanted to make sure that it was a convenient, practical, easy solution, and something that like it would be. The other thing that I think it was really difficult, and why other companies have failed at this, is that their solutions like fundamentally change the whole outer shell of the shoe as well as like the heel itself. My product, it's quite simple, where it attaches just like any other shoe. There's no, like, for in terms of like shoe manufacturing, I don't really touch too much of the areas of the upper parts of the shoe. It's only the heel, and if a shoe manufacturer wanted to, they simply just attach my design onto any shoes that they have. So that's another key advantage, and maybe that's also another reason why some of the people failed. Other reasons is that
So let me get this straight. So because if I want a shoe from one of the well-known manufacturers, part of your go-to-market strategy is to build a licensing agreement with some of these manufacturers to say, look, build 50% of your shoes the way you normally would, but the other 50%, you can actually build this mechanism into it so that your folks can have a comfortable shoe or have a high heel shoe, whatever they prefer.
yeah,
And that way you don't need to choose between the brands that you actually like.
Yeah, exactly. It's a near turnkey solution for shoe brands and shoe manufacturers to do things like that. The early conversations that we had with the shoe brands in terms of licensing, they said that their design budget doesn't actually really account for licensing out technologies. What they really want is to have like a proof of concept, where we would go out, we would create a small brand, sell shoes, and then those conversations would be a lot easier, and we can come to the negotiation tables with numbers and facts and say, hey, our technology sells, we proved it. All you have to do is give us the licensing. However, if we never get a licensing deal from a shoe company, the brand itself should be able to self-sustain itself as well. So there's two avenues for success.
Very smart. And then what's happened since then? So you patented the product. I'm looking at the shoes here. They're absolutely beautiful. I just showed them to one of our folks here at Expert Dojo, and her words were, I would buy these straight away. I know you're continuing to develop the product. Talk to me a little bit about your current development stage and kind of where you're going to go to next.
Yeah, so I tried launching in May. We did pretty good on social media, and finally kind of just like came out like stealth mode essentially, and showed it to the world. The feedback has been pretty good. I would say the major feedback, and we're of course okay with feedback. We love to hear feedback and make sure that we're launching with a good product. The major feedback has been they want something a little bit more inspiring. We were very safe, and we also chose to go in a direction where we didn't have to spend a lot of capital up front. However, when you launch something and you want to grab attention, you don't necessarily want to be safe. So I would say about September we decided to stop marketing, stop the campaign to try to pre-sell online. Instead, I'm gonna raise capital, get a new shoe design and a new heel design that is a lot more inspiring. The next one I just did some concepts for, and already everyone's been saying, wow, this is so much better. It looks a lot nicer than the one we have on our website right now. And launching with that, we're also looking to partner with a wedding company, and then we can provide wedding shoes for the bride and some of her bridesmaids as well.
Yeah, because we know everybody hits 10 o'clock in the evening on a wedding, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, we're done with high heels. We're done with looking beautiful.
Yeah.
We just want to hang and have a couple of glasses of wine between now and 1 in the morning. And we don't want to do it with sore feet.
Yeah. And it really helps us get our name out there too. And absolutely, I was just at a wedding in New York where like every single girl went on the dance floor. They took off their shoes because they just couldn't wear them anymore. We give them the option of, hey, having a heel when you need it, and then comfort when you need it without ever having to take off your shoes. because going barefoot, it's in different parts of the country, not so much in California, but different parts of the country when it's wintertime. Oh man,
Yeah.
I cannot imagine walking around barefoot.
Yeah, and it's also dirty, and you're wearing beautiful clothes and beautiful shoes, and you're probably wearing, a couple of hundred stroke, a couple of $1,000 on you, and you go barefoot. It's not actually that. It may feel okay when you've had a drink or two, but it's actually not that great. So talk to me a little bit about the competitors who are in the market. How are they doing?
Yeah, so our competitor, like I said, Passion Footwear, that's removable. They did post a video yesterday. I would say that I looked through the comment section. I'm gonna be in the very future, like making sure I don't say some of the things that she said, because like the comments, like, so one part of the conversation was that she had on her video that she posted. I think it was with Cheddar or something.
Uh-huh.
They She said, "Oh, women didn't need like to wear heels all day because like they weren't working all day in the 1980s or something."
Yeah.
And then I think every single person just went after that on that comment where she said like this is like women worked in the 1970s. I don't know what you're talking about, and it was kind of like a big diss to women. I think the other thing is like her
So
conception.
she was the founder of the company, was
Yeah,
she?
yeah.
And she was maintaining. I'm not quite sure, but what was she maintaining, that women didn't need high heels before, but they need them now?
Yeah. So her comment in the video basically kind of boiled down to, uh, she said women in the 1980s didn't work as much, and so therefore didn't have to wear heels all day. Now
Right.
and nowadays, like women are forced to work in heels all day. That of course is like incorrect. The other comments that they were talking about is the way that she conceived the product. So and the brand story behind it, because that's super important, especially when you're building a fashion brand and any kind of product brand.
Yeah.
So she was like out clubbing one time, and so, like one of the other girls like heels got stuck in her foot, or she stepped on her foot, and then she noticed like everyone on the dance floor was dancing barefoot. So essentially the comments kind of boil down to, okay, so you made a product so you can go party more.
Yeah, I have to say though, I think when it comes down to it with people, like people will comment where they're going to comment. The most important thing that comes out is like, do people like it? Because actually, if people like what she's doing and what the brand is to a certain extent, then they're going to like yours more.
Mm-hmm.
Because you've got a better design and you've got a better concept that comes through, right? And I think you're right, brand is tremendously important, or otherwise Tom's shoes wouldn't be as popular as Tom's shoes are.
Yeah.
But when all is said and done, if you provide a brand which has got great functionality, people are probably going to buy it, as long as it looks beautiful as well.
Yeah.
So do you have any idea as to kind of the numbers, or whether they're popular, the competitors, or whether they're struggling?
No, I think they're making good traction. Definitely have like some good press behind it. They've been at it for about like 3 years. I would say we just kind of launched it this year in June, so we're just getting started out. Definitely think that like we can learn from a lot of the mistakes, because what I found especially is that most companies who come out with the first product are not the successful ones. So a good example is MySpace. MySpace was ungodly unsuccessful, and Facebook came up with the exact same idea, and we know that. That's
MySpace did okay
Yeah.
for the first time they sold it. Like, it just was afterwards they struggled a little bit. But the founder of MySpace is not, he's not doing too shabby.
Yeah. He was smart actually, because I remember at the time I was reading articles about this, that like Tom, he was advised to not sell MySpace. I think they sold it for around like $400 million.
Yeah, they did.
And that everyone was like, "Wow, that's a steal deal."
Was it to Yahoo they sold it to?
Yeah, I think it was it was Fox. Yeah, it was Fox.
Fox was it? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And then Fox died, and then it just died. But yeah, the idea behind like sustaining the brand and keeping it going really well, I think is like the second part of the story. The first part of the story is, have we got a great product which people need and which people want? And then can we create a really good brand around people feeling good about using that product, right? So I love the fact that you continue to iterate based on the feedback that people are coming back with. I also like the fact that you're looking at manufacturing and licensing into manufacturing as a way not to make women shoes, because there are many women who just love a particular brand of shoes, and they'll only buy from that brand of shoes because that's what they love and that's what they're used to, until they find another brand of shoes which is a better brand of shoes. So partnering with those brands makes it extremely attractive for folks to get engaged with you. And then talk to me a little bit about the investment journey and what you're going on there. And you've also made this sound pretty easy so far. Have you had any challenges while building the product, putting it together, getting your team? Because normally it's unusual for us to have a founder that that hasn't gone through absolute persecution while going from that great idea to actually getting it out to market and being successful.
Yeah, it's definitely nothing what television portrays it as. No one shakes your hand and then immediately writes a check, which is what I think naively I kind of thought would happen eventually. But
Did you actually, speaking of such, did you contemplate Shark Tank?
yeah, we got pretty far.
I would say you did actually. They would like this. This is a very visual product for
Yeah.
something like Shark Tank to like.
Yeah. So they just encouraged us to apply next year. We made it through a lot of audition rounds and almost made it onto the show. But I think literally at the last like minute, like 1 month before we were supposed to film, they called us and said, you know what, just apply for us next year.
Close.
Yeah, so close.
We've had 4 or 5 dojo companies. And normally, for those of you folks listening, you are used to me investing in the company already. Every time I do a podcast day, I normally allow one spot where I bring in a founder that's doing something really interesting that we haven't invested in them yet. So part of me is really interested in the product. Part of me is looking at due diligence. Part of me is saying, can this founder make it through? Can this product make it through? And I love it because it's in the fridge. So there's no escape. So I get to like do one of the few times in my life with no distractions, no anything, and really find out about the product itself. But we've had founders of the dojo that we've invested in on Shark Tank, and Shark Tank is awesome. Not for investment, like you don't want investment from Shark Tank, but it's awesome for promotion. I don't know a single one that hasn't had a spike by 800-900% the day after they've gone on to Shark Tank, and you would be exactly the same.
Yeah.
I think probably one of the reasons why it was good you didn't make it on is because of the sales numbers that you were doing. Because you're going to come on the show, you're going to show the shoes, they're going to look at it, Barbara's going to pick up the shoe, and she's going to go, wow, these are actually quite nice, they're well put together, there's a nice style. She'll then, it's the first iteration, so she'll maybe pick up a couple of small points on it, and then Mark or somebody else will say, what are you selling so far? And then as soon as you tell them what you're selling so far, because you've only just gone to market, they're then going to hit you with some nasty low ball offer, and they'll tell you about some shitty distribution deal, which is actually the best thing hypothetically that's ever happened to you. And you're suddenly looking at valuing a business at $200,000, which is not something that you want to do. So I think it's actually probably a blessing in disguise that you get to go away.
Yeah.
Now you know the folks who are over there. You know what they like. You also need to learn the acts that they need on the show.
Yeah.
Because it's not about having a great product. You have a great product, but you need to be a great showman for them. And they need to see that you're able to do that. So you want to get great traction, you want to be a great showman, and you want to have a great product. And later on next year would seem like a great opportunity to go back there again. So talk to me about competition and protecting yourself in the future. I know you have a patent with the exact design and utility that you use this for, but what's to stop somebody else from coming in and having the heel snap to the back, or having the heel come off, or using one of the other patents or designs that other folks have brought in? Well,
I mean, there's a lot of other patents that are around similar technology like this. I would say it's not like, of course, like every single patent, like I had to like just go through the entire patent process and design around everyone else's patents. So as people continually file for new patents in this space, because I'm sure once we're successful, there's gonna be a lot. people either designing around it or straight up, changing a few things about it. It just takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of effort. It's so for a shoe company, for example, it's much more easy to just partner with us rather than to try to design around me, and then trying to go to court and say, oh, we didn't know about him, and
No, the shoe company's not going to. Well, so it's less about the shoe companies and more about the other folks who come in. So look, I'm looking at you right now as an investor. This is almost a live. We're looking at the company and thinking, "Whoa, I wonder if this would be something that would be good for us to put $50,000 or $100,000 into." Now, as an investor, I'm going. Shoes look nice. I really like the application. I like what you do with the shoes. I like the way they snap down. I like the fact that you have domain expertise in being able to build stuff. I like the person that you've brought on, your newest equity partner. I think she's really strong, and you're bringing in people who understand sales and how sales works. And she's strong and she's confident and she's a good person to have in the team.
Mhm.
So you're building strength around you, obviously based on feedback that you've been getting over the last 3 to 6 to 9 months on every aspect of it, which is wonderful. So it tells me that you're moldable and you're coachable and you listen and that you're determined to make this thing a success and you're going to do whatever you need to do to make sure that happens. So all that stuff is awesome. Only thing an investor is going to look at then is going to say, okay, considering we all want to be able to find the perfect company, we want to be able to find it at the perfect valuation, and we also want it to be proven, right? So that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Unless we go into a magic land and we find the perfect company. It doesn't exist, right? So we normally miss one of those things. And in your case, it's the piece of, it's not proven yet because because you're iterating and you're getting your product ready. But we feel that this type of product, based on Maria's reaction when she came in here, and based on just my general knowledge of women, and based on being married for a long period of time, I can't see why women wouldn't like the general concept as long as you get the style right and as long as you get the other folks. So my concern becomes the moat. My concern becomes how easy is it for other people to come in with a very strong brand, maybe unlike the lady that you spoke about, but other people who are far smarter and far better, who maybe come into this world from a place of female emancipation and saying, you know what, I wanted to, and she says all the right things, and she's got all the right colors, and then she's aligned with all the right charities and the right everything. What's stopping her from coming in and kicking your ass with her product?
Well, can't you say that about any company then? Like starting out, I mean, as investors, like obviously, yes, of course, there's that risk of somebody trying to knock you off. But we just have to be smarter, better, and the branding, of course, becomes much more important in that aspect of, okay, so somehow they designed around my patent plus everyone else's other patents already out there, and then they got granted that it becomes a brand word. That's like why Nike and Adidas exist. That's why Stephen Allen and Michael Kors, and each one's going to find their own niche. So we'll always have at least the market opportunity. We'll always have at least a capture in the market, and then staying ahead of the curve. Like one of the things that someone told me was, it's very difficult to find the tipping point for a brand, and then once you're in that tipping point, it's all hands on deck, and then everyone is just like, you're going to get so much attention just one day or 1 month, like everyone's going to come to you. Now, maintaining that success, that is where the challenge is, and that is why kind of what you described is hard for someone to get to that tipping point where if we started out before them, and then finding that success and then maintaining that success. So I would say, because we have a strong team, and I understand the product, I understand the Wendy, of course, my business partner. We also have some smart business advisors, and we'll be able to answer those questions, I would say, in the future. It's hard to answer that right now because we're not at that tipping point yet. We want to get to that tipping point. We want to get to that success, and then once we're at that success, getting knocked off is actually a compliment.
Yeah. Whenever you're with an investor, it's kind of degrees of comfort, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not about, you're right. There are certain brands that come through and they're just awesome, and they stay awesome forever, and they're just brilliant brands, and they're just phenomenal. And some investors genuinely, they just got lucky. You know, they maybe they knew it. Maybe it was their best friend's daughter who just came up with an amazing brand, and they put in 50 grand, because it's almost like the Huffington Post.
Yeah.
It just what are the competitions? There's millions of competitions, but just for whatever was happening at a particular time, it was right. It's almost like choosing why investors are scared of VR companies, because we know that VR is, or AR, or whatever what it's going to be, is going to be the future. Right? We know that. It's not that it's not going to be the future. It's just that it's very, very hard to know which one is going to break through. And there's thousands out there who are coming up with different applications. So whenever we're looking at anything, whether it's a shoe or a dress or anything, and yours is more of a utility than a fashion. I understand that you have the fashion with it as well, but I see the licensing, as most people will, as the really huge part of it. If you can suddenly have it out there with millions of women on every one of their brands, God bless you. Like, it's way better than having to manufacture your own stuff. Give me like 7-10% of it. So so you're 100% right. So it's not about so much you saying it could happen to anyone and nobody's got a moat. It's more about having just degrees of separation between you and your competitors. So, for example, you might say, well, as an engineer, we've looked at all of the different iterations that are possible with how you make this shoe the most functional and perfect shoe in the world. And we've realized it's a little bit like at the end of Marvel, you know, at the end of Endgame, where Doctor Strange says, I've just looked at 700,000 or 30,000 ways that this can go.
Yeah.
And Iron Man's like, well, how do we do it? He goes, well, we win in one of them, right?
Yeah.
You almost want to say that we've actually had a team of engineers look at all of the different ways that this can be done. And of every single way that it can be done, there are only 2 ways that are the most comfortable for women. Because women are smart, right?
Yeah.
They may be forced to wear uncomfortable things by themselves or by just life, but they're smart. They know the least uncomfortable thing to wear, as long as it looks stylish and beautiful at the same time. So my only suggestion is, I love your product. And I'm really interested. We're going to start talking about where it's going in the future. I love your product. I love the design. I love the idea behind it. I wouldn't have invited you into the podcast if I didn't.
Thank you.
I think you've got a really strong potential to be successful with this in the future. But my suggestion is that the conversation about moat or defensibility, you just work on something more scientific, more than brand, because you're right in that brand on its own can be the thing that makes it true. It's hard for an investor to use a scientific equation to say, I'm making the right bet, as opposed to, well, somebody's going to come in and just twist it slightly, but then it folds just 1 degree to the left and it won't make it.
Okay, so to answer that question, because I kind of thought I kind of thought the question was more, what if somebody figured out a way to knock it off because of they were super smart? So it wasn't a team of engineers, it was me. I went through every single prior art patent out there from different countries, mostly in the United States, of course. So the popular designs for a convertible heel have always been the removable kind. There's probably like hundreds of those, and a bunch of them have failed. Again, the main reason is carrying extra accessories and then losing them, like our competitor, for example. You have to carry 4 different parts. If you lose one of those parts, the whole thing's functionally worthless. It's like, okay, and of course that's definitely going to happen. The other patents have been like a telescope, where it collapses via a telescope. The main problem with that one is it's hollow. It's not solid, easy to break. The locking mechanism's there. The other ones, I think they have like a buttons.
Oh, I understand what you mean. So it folds into itself.
Yeah, like a telescope. Yeah,
okay,
so it's hollow. It's gonna break, and you don't. I wouldn't trust it. And heels break anyway. So ours is super solid. It's very, very strong. I'm an engineer. I used to design electric batteries for solar farms and electric cars. So you can trust me on the engineering aspect on that side. Some of the other patents that I've seen folds into itself. They don't account like it doesn't account for the angle the angle switch. So my patent is actually like pretty nice and versatile. Where when you do switch and convert, what happens is, and it's going to be hard for your listeners to understand it, but your arch is curved.
Yeah.
And so when you switch, what happens is that your toes end up pointing up because of the angles change.
Yeah.
Not accounting for that, I have seen so many companies in the past like just somehow forget that. If you look at mine, my toes never point up, and they're able to flex in that arch area.
Yeah.
So that's another like
And
huge.
that was the sound of a shoe hitting the table in a very eloquent and beautiful way as the heel reached up to the sky.
Yeah, and there's a ton of other patents where they change so much of the bottom here to accommodate for the heel that it's no longer turnkey manufacturing for shoes. It's no longer it's easy for shoe manufacturers to simply attach it just the way that they do heels.
Cool.
Like it's a huge fundamental change. There's like too many parts. There's a ton of mechanics into it. It's not simple. Like it gets super
I
complicated.
like what you see. This is what I'm talking about, though. It's not easy.
Yeah.
It's really not easy. And actually, a lot of thought has been put into the user experience, because if people like the experience, they'll stick with it and they'll want their own manufacturers to do it. Okay, I like it. I'm convinced. So now talk to me about the unit economics as much as you can, and then talk to me about where you see the business going over the next while and how much money you're trying to raise.
Yeah, so the unit economics, I would say like the shoe itself, the leather, like the thing you put your foot in, that's definitely the most expensive part, and that's like and it can change. Like if we get a good shoe designer, like we're talking with a shoe designer that used to design shoes for the Met Gala, for example, all of that can change, and you can put on a boot, you can put on so many different styles, you can put on sandals. That usually costs about like 35-40 euros if you're manufactured in Italy. In like I think China it's probably about like 10 or 15 bucks, pretty cheap depending on how you want to produce it. I know Michael Kors, like their manufacturing, for example, they do a lot of it in China, and then they ship it to Italy, and then they have it like assembled so they can put on to the made in Italy to make people feel better. Which
it's a sucky world. It's a sucky world. Like people don't realize how bad the world is.
Yeah,
but it's true. So okay, and then for the mechanism and everything, so you can make it somewhere between 10 and 30 bucks, depending on whether you want to be a good person or not such a good person.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Like the high heel itself, like the plastic parts, the parts that I did, it cost like $2.
Yeah, so nice and easy. And then these shoes sell for 140, 200 bucks. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what. So that was the original one. We're not going to pre-sell the one online anymore. Instead, I think we want to just go with a brand new design, a brand new style, like something very inspirational rather than like a safe bet. Like
good for you.
Yeah,
because these are. By the way, you've made a beautiful shoe. I will say that. I understand why you're calling yourself a safe bet, because they are, but actually I don't. I think they're a very beautiful shoe, but you're really going for something that's going to speak more to you, right?
Yeah. So kind of we take a lot of inspiration from Michael Kors, because I did a lot of research on Michael Kors recently, and when he works with Michael Kors, a business partner. What they kind of do is they do a collection line, because fashion is like super weird, where the fashion trends always start up at the very high end, the top, where they do fashion shows, they do a collection line, limited edition, made in Italy. That's kind of why they do made in Italy, and get it on like influencers, celebrities, and all these people, and like get the buzz around it. Every once in a while, one of like the really weird designs, like I saw like a very bright lime green shoe that was in their collection line that I saw. I was like, wow, that looks so ugly. But for some reason, it caught on the collection. So then they made a cheaper. Later on, they made a cheaper version so that they can sell to their other customer. But they don't like they don't ever start out the fashion trends at a low price point. When because it and of course the feedback online that we got was there's a lot of questions because there's no product that the consumer is familiar with that's similar to this. So getting it on someone that they trust, they know, or someone affluent and affluent people or people who tend to like shop for the high end like Jimmy Choo's, they tend to be the first market adopter as well. So once we get on like their feet, the mass market will
They'll follow.
they'll follow.
Okay, good. Okay, so and then how much are you raising right now?
We're raising 500,000.
500,000 on a valuation of
It's convertible notes at
Okay,
4%
cool.
interest rate, 20% discount.
20% discount. Very, very good. Okay, great. And then that $500,000 will do what?
So it's going to help with prototyping. Prototyping is expensive. The shoe that you have right there cost me about like $500 to make each. And I wanted to get a shoe designer. I mean, obviously, when we go into full production, right, cost goes down dramatically. But doing one-off, like, really kind of annoys manufacturers. But so it's gonna get us to a point where we have the prototypes, we have a whole, we can
You got the
launch with it.
molds, you got
Yeah.
everything. And how
Yeah.
much will that cost you? Probably $50,000, $100,000.
Yeah, just for that.
Okay, good. And then you're going to be able to do runs probably at $50, $70 for medium-sized runs, I'm guessing.
Mhm.
And then as you do the larger runs, then that's going to bring the price way down.
It can go stupidly low. Like
Okay,
I
beautiful.
saw heels or shoes get sold for like $5-10 or
Okay. And now just like appeal to my greed. What can this become? Like great shoe companies that grow like yours, especially which are more utility based than, even though design's going to be beautiful, I know it's a focus, but your biggest USP is obviously the utility of what you have here. So like what can this become?
Well, like this could either be like a major, shoe company like Jimmy Choo. He started out like someone in a similar way where he built a product that people wanted and they didn't even know they wanted and liked, and a whole brand behind it. And now he's a multi-billion-dollar company that got bought out or got merged with Michael Kors. Same thing
Yeah,
with
sure.
Michael Kors. So that's one avenue of success. The other avenue of success is the licensing deal that we were talking about, where we do so well that the shoe companies come to us and say, we want your IP on our product, and they'll take care of everything, like you said, and we have the power of negotiation at that point. We go to them now. It's a little bit tougher.
Yeah, you want to get strong. You want to have some money. I get it. Okay, listen. So I like what you've said so far. On my side of it, I see potential. So I like the shoes. I like what you've built. I like the design. I like what you have here, and definitely, we're looking to take this conversation on. I think it's a good. I think it's a really interesting thing that you be building here. And we don't do much hardware. Hardware scares us these days, and because of what we know is the inherent unknowns within hardware. But when you have a utility which is in a market where people can buy it a lot, and especially with the licensing, we like it. So well done. You and I are going to continue this conversation. Can you finish with just the website for our listeners, your email for our listeners, and obviously any investors who are listening in here as well? And then if you want to finish with some final thoughts to close out the interview.
Yeah. So my website is alexanderisinhue.com. So my last name is spelled Isinhue. It's very unique. I don't think anyone else has that last name because when my dad was 10 years old and he immigrated to this country, a translator literally just wrote down that name, and the customs agents going ahead, stamped him on through and said, "Welcome to America." So,
Wow.
yeah, that's the story behind that. So my email is alex@alexanderisinhue.com. Yeah, final thoughts. Like, women buy a lot of shoes. I think one of the problems I do have with fundraising is, number one, it's a hardware company, and I'm pitching to a lot of different investors that do a lot more software, and software's obviously doing 9-10 times multiples, even though like Uber, for example, has never made a profit in their life.
Maybe never even likely to.
Which is crazy to me. We can definitely be profitable, I would say, but within 1 year of that investment.
Good for you.
The other thing is, women dominate the market in products like this. Like they make up over 60% of the market. Over half of all shoes sold last year were high heels. It's a $35 billion market in just the United States alone. If we go international, it's even bigger. In Japan, for example, like they have companies that force women to wear heels the entire workday. There's a huge backlash in terms of the government to ban that. But a product like this could do well not only here but internationally as well.
Beautiful. I'll take that. Final words of the day. Great job. We will continue this conversation. Any other investors out there, definitely a thumbs up worthy of a conversation from Brian here. Alexander, it's been a pleasure having you on the show, and to be continued.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And that's a wrap.
Thanks for joining us. If you love the podcast, please empower your circle by sharing these stories. The Art of Startup War is brought to you by Expert Dojo. And remember, we invest in startups, $50,000 checks. Make sure you apply on our site if you are one of those great entrepreneurs looking to bring your company to the next level. As far as the Art of Startup War is concerned, we are back every single Tuesday at 10 a.m. So remember, check out the new episodes. If you want to find out what the investors think, check out season 1 or 2. But make sure you join us every single week.